November 20th, Thanksgiving week, 2006, Anno Domini, the year of our Lord, 11:15 a.m. Grace and peace be unto you from God our Father. Eighth day of clouds, eighth day of aerosol. Good, Nate? Right
well,
along.
he was born back there. There's
right here, Father Robert. You're going to turn right.
Yeah. There's a plaque out in front of a ranch house that was built in, looks like it was built in 1970. that says the birthplace of Martin Van Buren. And,
wow.
And thought, well, I think it was a little different house than that.
Back then. But, he wasn't born in a ranch house.
No. And I don't know where he lived in between that house and Lindenwald, but there are some beautiful houses back here.
This is called Mile Hill, isn't it? Yeah, this is Mile Hill.
I'm glad I get to go on a tour of the town of Kinderhook too.
All right, this is County Route 21. And it ends at Route 66 in Ghent, where we are going to eat. It joins with County Route 22. It is bucolic. It is beautiful.
So you've learned to like it out here, haven't you, Nate?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I have too.
Well, where did you come from before?
A sunrise, something that we haven't seen for 9 days. And it is November 21st, 1 month to the winter solstice. And it happened at 7:05 a.m. Thereabouts. You realize that, Dottie-Con? Look at that, folks, a blue sky. We have not seen that in 9 days. Again, November 21st, 1 month to the winter solstice, when the days start getting longer. Catnip. "28 degrees this morning, folks. Thanksgiving Eve. Blue sky, no aerosol yesterday. First day after 9 days. Today, cloudy again. Green catnip on a red rug. No snow yet. 1 month to the winter solstice, when the daylight starts getting longer. The judge told Esther Barron she could go home. The judge told Esther Barron she could go home. We beat off the psychiatrist, the hospital of suspect motives, the building where she lives. We beat them off, and we beat off the son and the daughter who were asking for a guardianship. Barbara Goldberg was a great help, and we gave Esther new friends. When you're 80 years old, you look around and your friends have gone. So we gave her new friends, Barbara and Doris and Kathy Williams. What's your salvation, folks? It's a great big box of gifts that God has for you. Peace and happiness, success and joy and love and appreciation and attainment and purity and perfection and wealth and leisure. The light to bring that revelation to you. You know, that big package of your inheritance from God is in a box somewhere waiting for you. It takes time to find it. It's like looking for any treasure. You have to put your time there. Spend your alone time with God the first thing in the morning. Rejoice every 15 minutes. And count pure thoughts in between. We marvel at this grand universe. I finished the universe book, the astronomy book, and I finished it on time, and it got back to the library on time, and no overdue. Even the 10 cents a day would bother the goal. Quasars. The glossary was particularly good. I ought to read you some in the glossary. These great sources of energy way, way, way far away. And they are not star-like. They are not like stars or something else. Galaxies and galaxies and galaxies. And the universe is expanding. This isn't as frisky as your first catnip.com, but you are enjoying it. Andrew Hersman has a chat with Glendora on YouTube. www.youtube//a chat with Glendora, one word. He's already put up 8 programs. And over here, we are sending him 12 more. It makes you sleepy.com instead of frisky. Billy said to his little friend, They're not going to grow bananas any longer, and his little friend says, why? And Billy says, 'cause they're long enough already. I failed with a black kitty who was pregnant. I failed for the black kitty. She was here on Monday, November 13th, and this is Wednesday, November 22nd. 1 month to the winter solstice. The black kitty never came back. I failed. I failed. I failed. Now next time I see a stray cat, you know, I know all of my neighbors very, very well, and I know all of their pets. So I know when an animal is a stray. It's been dropped off. And I will have a heart trap and get the animal immediately and bring the animal inside where it's warm and feed the animal and give the animal love. In spite of you.com. But then .com usually comes around. She usually likes the new animals after a while. So what's your pure thought for 10:45 a.m.? So he came by the Spirit. My prayer is for you to come by the Spirit and know all the richness and the wealth and the happiness and the glory and the peace and the attainment and the success. Fulfillment, goodness and power are right there for you. Reach out and get them. Perfect submission, all is at rest. I am my Savior, are happy and blessed. I, watching and waiting, looking above, filled with His goodness, lost in His love. That's my prayer for you folks. There's the boat. It didn't get finished, but pieces of wood can be cut for the spring to put along the bottom. Noah's Ark. Cleaning out the garage on Thanksgiving Eve. Sarok wrote a page and a half to oppose Glendora's 360 pages of receipts and evidence submitted to the Yonkers City Court in Glendora versus Savarino, Sulaco, DeCrenzer, and Officer Lewis. And Glendora has already written 24 pages refuting Sarok's page and a half. He could find no meritorious defense. He could find no refutation of the facts that Glendora went out and got the signers, for which state Cablevision has no statutory authority to require. Glendora handed in the personal information to Savarino, and we have the letters that Savarino admits that she called them, and after that the signers disappeared. There were about 40 of them, and then Glendora had to go out and get new signers. That cost money, hours, and ergs of energy, and Glendora was damaged far in excess of $5,000. But $5,000 is a monetary jurisdiction for small claims court in a city court in the state of New York. Folks, these charities come in the mail. I just can't say no to them. This is the Salvation Army. And look, they sent me 3. So I take my name off of them, and I take a separate envelope. And I put a $4 money order in. And in my envelope that I make out, and then I take the envelope that's ready for somebody else and take it to the laundromat and hope somebody else will be kindly disposed. This was National Wildlife, folks. Thank them so much for protecting the plants and the animals. And this is their Christmas wrapping. They send you free Christmas wrapping. And it's all bears. Aren't they cute? And always a mouse. And a bear and a boy with a sled. The Second Amendment is the right to arm bears. The right to arm bears. And here's a picture of a bear and a boy dancing. And here's two bears. And always there's a couple little mice. Isn't it cute? And here's these two little fat boys. And there's always a bear. See this bear? What's sitting down here? A little mouse. And this bear and what's on his back? A little mouse. Here's a boy and a girl dancing. Pat. And a bear in the background. The right to arm bears. And the bear's enjoying his ride on the sled. And the dancers are enjoying their music. Cute, isn't it? And they're giving away a tote bag. Do you know what this is all about? This tote bag. Free deluxe backpack. Now here's another piece of Christmas paper. It's lovely. Peace. Chickadee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. And hope. And what's the other one? Is it just peace and hope? I guess so. Nice Christmas paper. Thanksgiving Day. The kitty's got to have grass. Up here. Well, let's see if we can hold the camera with the left hand. The ambidextrous here. Equally skillful with both hands. I guess not. Making a mess of it. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I'm happy and thankful for you. Takes two to make a chat with Glendora, you know. The house is all neat, tidy, and trim, and organized here. And she looks over each piece and sniffs it all the way along to see if it's okay. Aren't we lucky to find grass on November the 23rd? It was 32 this morning, Been in 32 for 2-3 days. And before that we had dozens of days when it was above 40. Hasn't been any snow this winter. Let's see, what's wrong.com? You've had enough, or you don't like these pieces? Ambassador, an envoy of high rank. Let's be ambassadors for God, right? For goodness, for right, for fairness, for loving our neighbors. And don't you hurt any small animals, Miss Dottie Com. Have you seen a chat with Glendora yet on YouTube? www.youtube.com/one-word a chat with Glendora. The one word is God. I talked to my nephew last night around Augusta, Maine, and he brought it up on his computer. The sound is good and the picture is good. There are 8 programs up there already, 8.5 hours, and 12 more were sent out yesterday. Is that it, Dottie Com? We just finished printing Saw Rock, Glendora versus Savarino, Yonkers City Court. Bob Hope is going to have the last word. So, we work at this an hour at a time, every other hour. It's 9:35 Thanksgiving morning. And the next job is to do the logs and exercise the body. And then the chores are all done, Dottie Com. .com. So here it is, folks, a chat with Glendora on 52, it must be 53 or 4 TV stations. And including Washington, D.C. and Albany, New York, www.achatwithglendora.com, and also www.youtube.com, a chat with Glendora, all one word. Lead people to be perfect, stop the cruelty to animals, and stop injustice in the courts, and sue judges when they break the law. And this is going to Judge Charles D. Wood of the Yonkers City Court. And to Charles F. Dolan, Chairman of Cablevision Systems Corporation. And it says here, Cablevision needs a new chairman and a new CEO who will not violate public access rights. It is fiduciary irresponsibility. Look what this costs us shareholders. And the same note to you, James L. Dolan, CEO and son of Charles F. Dolan. Lead defendant, fugitive Christine Savarino. Fugitive for the 10th time, Cablevision, 47 Purdy Street, Harrison, New York. Sir reply to Glendora's 360 pages of receipts and evidence. Savarino. Damages, Glendora, $5,000. Yonkers City Court. Cecilia Masterilli, her underling and partner in crime. Defendant, Jill DeCrenzer, in default. Yonkers City Court. Defendant, Officer Lewis, in default. Yonkers City Court. Police Department, Peekskill, New York. Defendant, Taibat Salako, Peekskill, New York. And last, the liar for hire, Walter A. Sarok at the Liar for Hire law firm Sadley Stevens, Burke & Burke, 230 Park Avenue, New York. Standing on the promises of God. Standing, standing, standing on the promises of God, my Savior. Folks, how are you? The paper is served. Up sail. Here it is. City Court, City of Yonkers, County of Westchester, State of New York, United States of America, on the Internet. It is index number and it's Glendora Sir reply in defense of her 360 pages of receipts and evidence submitted November the 8th, 2006. It is Glendora versus Christine Savarino, Tybat Salako, Jill DeCrenza, Officer Lewis, Peekskill Police Department, who are the defendants. And Glendora sings them a song. For it's a long, long time from June to November, and the days grow short when you reach December. You know what that's from? You're too young. It's long before you were born. It was a Broadway play. Knickerbocker Holiday. Okie dokie. Now Glendora starts out with saying that there's still no Carmody weight proof that Sawrock has authority to represent Savarino and Salako. Obviously, he doesn't, folks, because it's so simple for Savarino and Sirocco to write a letter and say that I have hired Walter A. Sirocco to represent me in the Yonkers City Court in Glendora versus Savarino. So they can't do that, so he doesn't have Carmody weight authorization proof. And Judge Charles D. Wood, I think you should address that. And there's still no proof of eligibility to practice Yonkers Court in Yonkers Court. Now, is that so hard to prove? All he has to do is produce a certificate. So it's hanky-panky, folks. But one thing Sawrock cannot produce is a license to practice law in the state of New York. A doctor has to have a license to practice medicine in the state of New York. Does a lawyer? No. No lawyer in this country has a state license. Oh, you say, well, how do they have these big ceremonies and they're accepted by the bar? But what is the bar? The bar is a union. Nothing but a union. The American Bar Association is nothing but a union. And all a lawyer has is a union card. He does not have a license from us, the people of the state of New York. Alpha. Step back, way back. Be affranchised of the myopia that Sawrock is fighting desperately for $5,000. Here's a man who's a graduate of Dartmouth College, the country club of New England. Here's a man who had an affiliation in law with the University of Notre Dame. Here's a man who is a lawyer working allegedly for a Park Avenue law firm, Sadly Stevens, Burke and Burke, in the Pan Am building, and he's groveling for $5,000. Step back. Tell us, what is $5,000 to a Park Avenue lawyer? What is $5,000 to $3 million a year Charles Dolan, chairman of Cablevision? What is $5,000 to $3 million a year James Dolan, his son, CEO of Cablevision? And yet they're fighting desperately for $5,000. Now, isn't this ludicrous? Isn't this bizarre? Beta, whether this paper Glendora writes is admissible to this court is academic. The response has to be articulated. Good must have the last word, not evil. It has to be read on TV. Voila. Here's Sarok's letter. It was received November 16th. Today is November 23rd. The judge is Charles D. Wood. And the defendants are those I read you when we came in. Now, he says, Dear George Wood, we represent Christine Savarino and Taibat Salako, and Glendora says, prove it. You haven't proven it yet. And he says, in the above matter, and write to respond briefly to Glendora's 353 pages post-trial submission. Glendora says post-trial submission is a shadowy representation, a repetitive failure by Sarok. Judge Wood ordered Glendora to submit receipts and evidence. That's what it is. This letter by Sarok and Alphonsus is not a grown-up legal paper. It is not a memorandum to the court. It is not an application. It is not a blank blank in further support. It's kid stuff. Here's a Park Avenue lawyer, and he doesn't know enough to write a grown-up legal paper to the court. He writes a letter. A letter, page and a half, hardly is worth the 360 pages that Glendora submitted. Sarok fails to refute 360 pages of receipts and evidence. His page and a half does not rise to a defense against Glendora's 360 pages of receipts and evidence. His emaciated paper of a page and a half does not rise to a meritorious defense. Delta, Glendora commenced her linear attack. It is not only linear, but it's agonic. Agonic means no angles. Sarok says, as an initial matter, the court allowed Glendora to make a post-trial submission for the sole purpose of permitting her to produce original invoices that evidence her supposed damages. Well, Glendora says, Sarok instantly slips into a black hole again. He plainly cannot overcome its gravity. The court said nothing about original invoices. What original invoices are there? The court said receipts. There were no invoices. This is for gas and for travel, for meals, for time, and for energy. What invoices are there for that? But that's Sarok for you. He cannot speak English. Again, Glendora says the facts are undisputed. It is a fact that Glendora went out and got signers for her program in Harrison, Port Chester, New Rochelle, Pelham, Yonkers, Yorktown, and the 6 other municipalities that are in the Yorktown system, Mohegan Lake, Shrub Oak, and so forth. Peekskill, and the 6 municipalities that are in Peekskill. Ossining, Wappingers. There's no statutory authority for that. They cannot make you do that. But they won't play your program on the TV unless you do, because they believe in breaking the law. So it is a fact that Glendora went out and got those signers. It is a fact that Glendora dutifully turned in that information, the name, address, and telephone number, all personal information of those people, turned it into Savarino and Masterilli. That is a fact. It is a fact that Christine Savarino called these people We have it by her own hand in these letters that she wrote to the signers. We have it. We showed it to you. That is a fact. It is a fact that after that, the signers just disappeared. And it is a fact after that, Glendora had to go out and replace them. So I guess it's pretty clear that that cost money. And it cost travel. And it cost time. And it cost energy. We are up to page 7. It is prima facie that this cost hours, dollars, and ergs, and this is the ad damnum for which Glendora is suing fugitive Savarino, to wit, $5,000. Minuscule as to the actual cost. The actual cost is something like $27,000. Zeta, Sawrock totally flops at refuting these facts. And fugitive Savarino flunks her opportunity to refute them by fleeing the trial on October 25th. She's so guilty that she didn't come to trial. And so she lost the opportunity to refute these facts. They stand as they are. And by running away from 9 court papers served on her, refuse, in insane repetition. Glendora wearies of courts' impotence to ascertain the truth, together with courts' failure to adhere and cohere to the Unified Small Claims Act, Section 1801, ad infinitum. And this is actionable in big federal courts under due process of law, the 5th Amendment and the 14th Amendment, and civil rights, Title 42 of the United States Code, Section 1983, and Section 1985, which is what? Conspiracy. To say zero about substantial justice. So be it, solemnly ratified. Sawrock, Savarino are not state actors, but they can be shackled as accessories, partners in guilt. Theta, says Sawrock, liar for hire. Or maybe he's doing this pro bono. Glendora's submission, however, includes pages and pages of correspondence and applications of local sponsors for her television show. Well, I think that's evidence. A court's job is to ascertain the truth. The correspondence is the 40 or so letters by Savarino in her own hand that chased away the 40 or so signers. And its modus operandi, Sawrock covers up, which is Criminal Code, Title 18, United States Code, Section 1001. Whoever lies and covers up by any trick or scheme, material fact, she'll go to jail and she'll be fined. Now, Sawrock says, and frivolous commentary. Well now, that's an overworked platitude that has lost its meaning. It's as dull as dishwater. We pointed out that there's nothing frivolous about free speech in America. There's nothing frivolous about the public access laws. Public access should be administered on a first-come, first-served basis. Public access should be administered on a non-discriminatory basis. A cable operator shall not limit or prohibit public access, and a cable operator shall not exercise editorial control. What greater editorial control is there than taking a program off the TV entirely? Folks, do you think that Cablevision is doing this because they lost so pitifully in court in 1993, 94, and 95 when they took the program off the TV in Nassau County and Glendora sued them and 3 courts told them to put the program back on TV? So they don't dare take it off in Nassau County. But they can't stand it, so they whittle away at Westchester County. Do you think that's reasonable, folks? Tell me. Fugitive Savarino flunks her opportunity to refute these facts by fleeing the trial on October the 25th. We are on page 10. There's only 36 or 7. Now this is SAROC line number 4. Documents are outside the scope of submissions that the court allowed Glendora to file. That's a lie. In fact, it's line number 4. Glendora says, pure and spotless, let us be. And SAROC says, they are rank hearsay and provide no support for her claims. Glendora says, specify, delineate, prove, expatiate. Vague, conclusory, no value, not a meritorious defense. A letter in Christine Savarino hand to a signer that she called him. And that the signer disappears? I don't think so, SAROC. Says SAROC further, Glendora had her chance to proffer evidence in support of claims at trial, but failed to do so. Well, the judge took care of that. What evidence is it? I went out and I got the signers, it cost money. I gave the information to Savarino, she calls and lets the signers disappear, and I have to go out and get no more signers. Those are all facts. Glendora says, not so, and even if so, it's water over the dam. The evidence was and is prima facie. One cannot get new signers without in personam road trips, and this cost way in excess of $5,000. Iota. Glendora says SAROC's paper should be double-spaced, yea, even quadruple-spaced for what has to be read between the lines. It is too hard to refute his vagueness and ambiguous, phrase by phrase. We must do it by gulping paragraph by paragraph. Well, I tried to do that. Refuting it a paragraph at a time instead of a phrase at a time. Everything he writes is a lie. But then, that's what a liar is. SAROC says, even putting aside her failure to state a claim upon which relief may be granted, see the authority cited in the defendant's motion to dismiss Glendora's claims. What Glendora says about that, a claim upon which relief cannot be granted, authority cited. How many more judges is it going to take to tell SAROC that this cannot be used in small claims court? Brian Hansberry, city judge in White Plains, told him unambiguously. Arthur J. Duran III, city judge in Yonkers, told him unambiguously. And this is opacity surpassing absurdity. How many judges is it going to take you, Walter SAROC, to teach you that CPLR 3711 7A does not apply in small claims court. Amend this to Glendora's renewal motion for sanctions. He should be sanctioned. He's disobeyed 2 judges already. This is blockheaded defiance of the court that must be punished. Sanctions on you, Sarah, Savarino, and Sulaco. $10,000 pay into the Yonkers City Court. Said motion to dismiss failed flatly with all of its accoutrement of 200 pages of no law. Quote, failed to present any evidence MS Savarino scared away her local sponsors. This is a lie. Glendora presented 40 letters in Savarino's own hand that this exactly was distorting. Savarino did. And that's volume 1 of Glendora's November 8th paper, the 360-page paper. Glendora renews her motion for sanctions. The court needs no more proof to grant this. Why did they opt not to review or sponsor? She called them. She called them with no reason. She called them to insinuate that they had lied. Send me proof of your address. In other words, the signer wrote out the name, address, and telephone number, and Savarino calls him up and says, I need proof of residency. What is Savarino saying? I don't believe you. You lied. How would you like that? And yet in open court, when I asked for Savarino's proof of residency, the judge rumbled over it. Give Glendora proof of residency of Savarino. Wrongfully denied by the court October the 25th. Trial date. Savarino executed extortion, civil RICO, Title 18 United States Code, Section 1961 et sequitur. And they were scared away, my signers. We're going to take a break here. And Glendora's telling this court on this page 12B that if Glendora wins this $5,040, she will give it away, mostly to Christina and Cecilia, because she cannot stand seeing them so unhappy. They must be miserable doing the things that they are doing. They must be miserable to even do them. Glendora will see how much Mephistopheles wants to buy back the souls of Sarah, Sadley, Stevens, Burke, and Callaghan. And if she doesn't win, free speech, the constitutions, and America lose. She will bypass the appellate term, the appellate division, Supreme Court of the State of New York, and she will go directly to the Judas Gate Court, the New York State Court of Appeals. Since this is a constitutional issue. And if Judith does not attend to Judith's soul, Glendora hops, skips, and jumps to the United States Supreme Court. How much more evidence does it take? How many Teamsters does it take to change a light bulb? 4. You got a problem with that? Sarah speculates that Glendora speculates, and this is his line number 8. Glendora has presented plenary evidence to win a verdict in her favor. Instead, 6 or 7 verdicts. Indeed. Sulaco gave the court the evidence for Glendora. Cecilia said, you don't know what you're getting into. When Sulaco went over to see Cecilia in Peekskill, Cecilia said to Sulaco, you don't know what you're getting into. And Sulaco testified that in open court on October 25th. Sarah misrepresentation. Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, Rule 11, New York State Analog. Misrepresentation, lying, covering up. Sarah exposes who he is and what he is. as does Sadly Stevens Birkenberg, as does Savarino. As do the Dolans, through all the lawbreakers, like Savarino, that they hire and that they pay to lie for them. Tainted money. Tain't yours, tain't mine. There are too many misrepresentations to have crammed into one paragraph. The en banc paragraph method is overwhelmed, and Glendora will have to resume the linear agonic approach, taking phrase by phrase and setting the record straight. Sarok writes, with respect to Glendora's damages submission, she claims that she is entitled to $300 per hour for time expended by her in locating and/or replacing local sponsors. And this ends Sarok's page 1. She is not entitled, however, to fees any more than any other litigant is entitled to fees for time spent mitigating damages. Oh, no, no. This is the money that Savarino cost me. I am damaged. I'm not... I don't know. How do you talk to a turnip? How do you talk to a stone? Glendora says, who says? What is your statutory authority? A lawyer can charge anything he wants for 1 hour. In Westchester, they charge $400 an hour. In Manhattan, they charge $800 an hour. They can charge anything they want. I can charge for what I want. My 55 years expertise in television, my expertise as a television performer, as a videographer, as a producer of public access shows, my 20 years litigating in courts as a plaintiff, inter alia, and she must be paid as any expert in court is paid. Sarok should not be paid for the mess that he has made of this case in Yonkers as he did in White Plains. He should be sanctioned $10,000 paid into the court for the time, labor, and materials he has cost this court with his violation of the New York State Uniform City Court Act, Section 1801, which is the Small Claims Act. Small claims is supposed to be litigated in 2 weeks. That was the intent of it. Sarok says, further, she has made no claim that she was unable to replace sponsors who were scared away. What does that mean? What does it mean, first of all, and what is its relevance? What is its application? Glendora was able to replace the signers. All of those municipalities I mentioned to you now, they all have signers. And crazy Cecilia said last year and the year before and the year before that, you don't need a signer in Cross River if you have a signer in Yorktown. Or you don't need a signer in Yorktown if you have a signer in Cross River. So we have a signer in Yorktown, that's Mary Ramage. And then she calls up Mary Ramage and says Glendora doesn't have a signer in Cross River. She's forgotten that you don't need a signer in Cross River if you've got a signer in Yorktown. So she upsets Zeke and his wife up in North Salem. So I call Cecilia and I say, you told me that Cross River and Yorktown systems have merged and you need one signer for both. She'd already taken 2 shows off the air, November 3rd and November 10th. So you'd better see some make goods for that, Cecilia and Christine. Glendora was able to replace the signers. She has Alma Johnson in Yonkers. She has George Paris in New Rochelle, Pelham. She has Joseph Cacciola in Harrison, Port Chester. She has Ramage, Mary Ramage in Yorktown and the other 10 municipalities. And Zeke refused to be chased away by Savarino. Savarino calls up Zeke and says, "Why did you sign for Glendora's show?" And Zeke says, "Because I wanted to." And she has Haywood in Peekskill, Susan Haywood in Peekskill, and Bob Angelo in Ossining. And that's a whole bunch of municipalities. That goes all the way from Ossining, all the way down through North Castle, all the way into Terrytown. All of these people stand by Glendora. Savarino is unable to dislodge them. But how is she trying to do it now? Through harassment, through repetitive telephone calls about returning videotapes. I take time out. Teacher, why weren't you in school yesterday? Boy, my mother took me to the cemetery. Teacher, oh, I'm sorry. Somebody dead? Boy, yeah, all of them. We were on page 17. Albeit, she harasses them with calls about returning tapes. Cecilia told Ramage that Glendora did not have a signer in Cross River. She forgot that Cross River merged with Yorktown, ergo, only one signer was needed. That would be Ramage. Cecilia sent Zeke an application in Cross River and took Glendora off of TV November 3rd and November 10th. And when Glendora left a message that the two systems now were one, Cecilia cablecast a chat with Glendora on November 17th. She owes us 2 make-goods, November 3rd and November 10th, and Ramage gets incensed by Cecilia. And here is Ramage's letter. And she says it is Thursday evening, and there was a program on the TV, and Mary gives some information about it, the telephone numbers and the numbers of the program, so that we know that Mary saw the program on Thursday. But, she says, on Friday evening, there was no program, and Mary says, I am very upset. Why? Mary wants to see .com, the kitty cat. Sorok says, and I'm on page 19, the few receipts actually submitted by Glendora evidence no recoverable damages. She submits receipts for everything from Dunkin' Donuts and Emerald Diner, meals, to receipts for filing fees and other actions. Well, what is so wrong about that? This is money that Savarino cost Glendora with her savage violation of public access law. Let me ask you something. Is Savarino in Italian, little savage? Sorok says she unbelievably seeks copying costs for litigation, filings, mailing, costs for things, and tolls, something, paid in trips to courts and other matters. Well, who caused those costs? You, Savarino. What is Sorok's statutory authority? Sorok's paper is superficial and supercilious, raised eyebrow. With his ongoing sneakiness, Sorok omits all the other receipts. He never refutes the facts that Glendora got the signers, that Savarino called them, that the signers disappeared, that Glendora had to go out and get new signers. He never refutes that, and Savarino wasn't there in court to refute it. No meritorious defense. Omicron, Sorek says, absent a statutory or something commercial, I guess, provision entitling her to these costs, for which there is none in this case, she cannot recover them. And Glendora says, what is his statutory authority? So far, this letter is rhetoric, and so far it is conclusory, and so far it is a washout. It's dull as dishwater. Pie. What factual basis or legal basis does Sarok have? None. And despite, Sarok says, Glendora 353 pages, she has failed to produce any evidence of recoverable damages. Well, he has no legal basis for that, and he has no factual basis on that. He says, in short, so-and-so, and Glendora says it is too short. It is short in every way. It is so short that this case is falling flat. Sarok swings from too long. His first paper was 200 pages. This paper is a page and a half. It is like the summer solstice to the winter solstice. Sarok says, further, even if she had presented evidence of damages, she has failed to state a claim upon which relief may be granted. How many judges does it take to get an order through a concrete block? Hansberry was sufficient for normal brains. Doron III surpassed that, and at this point it amounts to contempt of court, disobedience to a court order to two of them. Sanctions, Sarok, Savarino, $10,000 into the Yonkers City Court. And share it with White Plains. Sarok, Savarino, lie number 15 in this paper, over 200 in this case. Over 200 lies they've told in this case. And we are doing fine. We are up to page 22. Sarok says, or to provide any evidence